You're watching SKST Radio.
Well, welcome to another episode of SKST Radio, and we're talking Small Business Network, and we have a beautiful special lady that's here. She's the queen today.
Yes.
We have RanaPeri Davis. Welcome to the show.
Oh, wow. I love the intro music. That was like a little blues, and I was listening to that early, and I was just kind of getting
your groove ready,
yeah,
right?
I know. I am so excited to be here. I just have one small correction.
Okay.
It's Rana.
Rana. See, I knew that. I knew that.
I knew you knew it. I knew
But
you
you
knew
know
it.
what? Tell people who you are and what you do.
I am RanaPeri Davis, and I am the CAD coach. What is a CAD coach? Change, Achieve, Do. That is the methodology and the program that I use when I coach. A little bit about me personally. I became a life coach in 2019. I'm one of those kind of people, someone plants a seed in you and you know that it's supposed to germinate. I was on probably one of the most rewarding jobs that I've ever been on, professionally and personally. And I was in a conversation with someone and they said, "You need to be a life coach." I'm like, "No, I think I do." You know how that seed, and I've always been inquisitive, one that always asks questions and I wait for the answers. And maybe I ask too many questions, maybe I'm annoying, but I always want people to think because I'm such a deep thinker. And it just seemed to go in line. So by the end of that, I think she said that in January 2019. And at the end, I was a certified life coach, which in this space, you don't necessarily have to be certified. Yeah, I thought it was a good thing because anyone can say that they're a life coach and everyone is in a sense. I mean, wouldn't you think that everyone is a life coach in a sense? Because we've all been through something. And
exactly. And we all have a story. I absolutely agree.
Yes. And we all have learned tools in which to get through life. So I got certified in 2019 and then 2020 came and I'm a little impulsive and God said, "Quit your job." This was a job I told you that lined me up for everything. Yet it had served its purpose. You know, when things serve their purpose. And I went and I started, that was right before COVID. That was February 2020. COVID came March 2020. And for that first couple of years, I struggled in defining what kind of coaching business I wanted. I was out there on Instagram. Everybody was a coach. Everybody that you scrolled on was a coach. Coach is this, coach that.
Yes.
And it was like finding my people, finding my tribe. And I stumbled for a while. Initially, it was divorced women because I was a divorced woman after 30 years of marriage. I was the one who left. And through that experience, I learned that statistically, 60% of marriages end by the women initiating them.
Wow.
And then in that group, 35% of those women are African-American women.
Wow.
And when I initially became a coach and started going through the divorce process, I looked around and in the churches, in my neighboring churches, there was no divorce care. I had to go outside my community for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was striking. And that's still something that I'm going to embark upon because it's needed. Again, I say out of that 67, 35% of women are African-American women. So I said, where is the help? Where do we go? And my focus initially was on divorced women, taking them through that process.
Right.
And then I realized you're divorced, but that's just a part of your life. You know, I realized that a common thing to me was in order for anyone to achieve anything, they had to change something so they could do. Henceforth, CAD, it's like, epiphany. And so that's when I started more initiating and implementing the CAD method of achieving, changing, and doing. And so I've kind of segued a little more into doing strategic planning for small businesses and business development. And now, interesting as life would have it, 3 years later, life changed. You have to be just open to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a T-shirt that says "Life happens, living takes effort," because life is going to happen no matter
Right.
what. So over the past year or so, I've been caring for my 93-year-old father and his hands-on 24-hour a day caregiver, even though he's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. If you see him come through here, I'm actually in Baltimore for this one. So you may see him meander through here and this kind of pop in or whatever. If so, that's my father. And just going through that process, you think
Mm-hmm.
you're ready.
You're
Mm-mm,
not.
mm-mm, no. No way. And I really had to dig deep to my coaching. I had to coach myself. And some days, and I use this CAD method through everything because it's not just about setting long-term goals and short-term goals. It's like, what do I want to achieve today? And that's how I had to get into the nitty-gritty as I was caring for my father and then trying to build my business and expanding.
Mm-hmm.
Each day, it's like, what do you want to achieve today?
Right.
Right. Is there anything that you can change to achieve that? And then what are you going to do? I literally had to do that just about every day to help me through the process. So the method is not just a one and done. I think it applies to anything that anyone wants to achieve in life daily.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and the coping skills. And I think over the process, it's about the coping skills that you develop. And so through that whole process, I have built a coaching business, still fine tuning because again, life just has a way
It
of saying,
evolves. Yeah.
yes, and saying that maybe you need to change directions and being flexible enough to realize that maybe you need to change directions. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just a little bit about me. Well, just a little bit. I'm a mother of three, a Gen X, a millennial, and a Gen Y. I think I had to look them up. So yeah, yeah. I was a wife, a mother, and widow by the age of 22
Oh, wow.
to a man who was unable to love in a healthy manner at all times. I called it something different. I called it what the world called it,
Mm-hmm.
abuse. And then that said, that may make me a victim,
Yeah.
in other people's eyes. Nah, and I was never a victim. And I believe he wanted to love. He was just unable to love in that healthy manner. And
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. And I got married, divorced after 30 years. My foreman and I are like that, I mean, just wonderful. And all of my life, and because of life, it, I think, has made me a better life coach. Because my father says, honey, baby doll, he says, you're a life coach. So you help people with life. And as I'm
Mm-hmm.
coaching others, I coach myself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you got to have a taste of your own medicine, right?
Yes.
If you
Yes.
don't know how it tastes, how can you tell someone and coach them and say, "Hey, this is good. Try
That's
it."
right.
So
That's right.
you
That's
have
right.
to be a person to take your own medicine. So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
so you're doing this self care, you helping your father and everything. What do you actually do for yourself though? What do you do to keep yourself motivated and in that situation? Because I have to admit, 2020 March, it took a lot out of all of us. And so to
Mhm.
start from that to the healing process to find out that there is tons of people doing what you do, so
Yes.
what do you do for yourself to keep you motivated?
Well, first of all, self care. And I think that's important. I take care of self first before I can even be motivated mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. I follow a routine to stay motivated. I get up no matter what. I'm here with my father, and we'll be for the next week, 5:15 or 5:10 every day. Why the difference is just like I like to be rebellious. I don't like to get up at 5 o'clock or 5:30. It's like I'm gonna pick some place in between. What keeps me motivated is my why. I Before I became a life coach, I started picking the brains of women. And a common theme that I find for women is that they ask the question, who am I? That's what keeps me motivated. I hear it so many times, time and time again, because I remember when I left my marriage in 2015, it took 3 years of probably every day asking myself, who are you? Like, why would you leave a marriage then? Could you have stayed with him? He was a wonderful man. There was no abuse. There was no of this. I lost respect for him, literally. That's all. And then I started acting in a way, how women can be, when we're disrespectful. Come on, when we have the little bite in our mouths,
Of
we
course.
have a tinge about ourselves and we say, oh, that's just the way I am. Yeah, that may be the way you are, yet it's still disrespectful. I digress. I'm sorry. But yeah, and so I took 3 years to really, who are you, Rana? Married, uh, teen mom, 16, 18, and then 22. Moved from Baltimore to Columbia, South Carolina in 1988 when there were marches going on, Ku Klux Klan, and just a different time,
Mhm.
and so during those 3 years that I left my marriage, I really went inside myself to say, who are you? Like, who at your core? Who are you? And that's what keeps me motivated, because time and time again, that's what women struggle with, because we put on all this stuff.
Mhm.
Society says, that person says, our mothers say, this person. And then we're left with, who am I as a person? That's literally, I kid you not. And what keeps me motivated when I'm scrolling social media, TikTok, these young women that are struggling with their identities. I'm not talking about necessarily sexuality, their identities. That's what keeps me motivated. And it may sound like, no, it doesn't. That is because I have daughters and I know how
Mhm.
they struggle even under my mothership. So I'm just wondering, these young women who have no mothers or mother wounds and all that. So that's what keeps me motivated, what I see every day. And if I can just make maybe one post that connects with somebody, send
Mhm.
out one call, one text, or something that connects with someone, be at a venue that people say, that makes me think, then that's what drives me. Yeah, that's it.
Wow. So who is your ideal customer?
That woman saying, that person doesn't necessarily have to be a woman. That's what's drawn to me. That's asking themselves that question. Who am I? What do I want to achieve? What do I need to change? Not want to change, need. That you're honest enough to address what you need to change. And a person who, one of my programs that I institute is in positive intelligence. And
Okay.
it's a thinking that as children, we adapt saboteurs, 9 of them, instinctually, whether we've had a wonderful childhood or not. And we wrestle with this as adults. They might have, served us well as children. Now, as adults, those are the things that are really causing us angst and that toxicity and that negativity in us. And I incorporate positive intelligence into the practice. And since I've done that, it's really been instrumental. So, who
Mhm.
is my ideal client? Again, that client that wants to achieve something, that knows first they have to change something and that are unafraid to do it. The
Mhm.
person that's tired of all the negative talk in their head, being stuck. We hear stuck, but just dog tired of being tired. The person that is unafraid and ready to really get to the nitty gritty. I'm not a therapist. We don't go like back in time, but
Right.
a person who is willing to be honest with themselves, take accountability for whatever has happened in the past, not to blame themselves, but to move forward.
So how do you know if you fit in that category? Because a lot of people they're not true to themselves. A lot of people pretend to be more than what they are.
Hmm.
You have a lot of negativity
Yeah.
that's out there in the world today, where people they do things just to make them feel better about themselves.
Yes.
That bully. Those
Yeah.
bullies are back,
Yes,
and
they are
so yeah, they're back and
with the
they're in
vengeance.
full force. Yes, and then you got the Karens out there. You got those
Mhm.
Karens that it's them.
Yeah.
So how do you filter out to get to that right person? You know.
The person, two things. The person has to be willing. has to be willing, because I can talk all day. I can come here and I can offer this, I can offer that. The person has to be willing. And I may go through 100 people until someone says, I am going to make the change now. And again, it's life coaching. So it's not like I'm going to the psychological theory or anything like that. And then just how do I connect? Just being who I am. Like, I can't be a phony. It was so funny because before I was going to come on here, I wear my hair natural, and that stuff was all over my head. All over. It was like I couldn't even smooth it down. So I wet it and put it in a ponytail. And so the person that I want to connect with is the one that says, yeah, I may be on live radio. I could be all jushed up. But you know what? My hair's in a ponytail because this is life. This is who I am.
Absolutely.
And that's how I connect. Like, my nickname is Shug. S-U-G.
Oh, I saw that. Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And it stood for struggling under grace. Until my girlfriend, thank God for my circle of friends, she was like, Shug. She called me up with somebody. She was like, Shug. I was like, hello. She said, look, that name needs to be changed right now to stop struggling. And, she says, you can't struggle forever. So now it stands for striving under grace.
Nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
But my audience is whoever is unafraid to say, I'm just tired. I'm not going to go into 2023 without the tools. Now, I teach tools more so than I'm not going to give you a program and you're gone. It's about teaching you tools and giving you resources and skills so you can get through life, no matter whether it's professional or personal.
Right.
It's about implementing tools and steps and having you to frame out a plan that's going to be conducive to your life, being honest, being able to set barriers, telling people. I remember a couple of years ago, I realized as I was building this business, I was building it trying to use old tools, trying to use 9-to-5 tools. People calling all times a day, and I'm allowing that. And so finally I said, I'm not being very productive. And I had to set boundaries. So I have put on work modes, 9 to 12, when no one was able to access me. I'm telling you, I got so much pushback. Oh, well, you're not available anymore. What if something happens? But you got to be okay with setting out the framework that works for yourself.
Exactly.
And after a while, they got used to it. And then I started breaking the rules. I started calling them.
Now you can't break your rules. But that's interesting because I do have boundaries that we do. We have a full-blown studio, right? And then we also have other things that we do. And I make it a point to have a Kami day. I have to have a Kami day. I'm sorry it's on the day that it's on, but it's the only day that I can grasp for it. So my Kami day is on Sundays. I might get up and go online and see my cousin who does his little ministry online, or I have 2 cousins actually that do their ministry online, and I rotate between the 2. But that's my day. That's my one day. I don't have to get up, get dressed. I don't have to put makeup on. I don't have to put the wig on. I don't have to do nothing. It's a Kami day and a Dallas day. And Dallas is my little puppy who never get to see me. And so it's a Kami Dallas day. And I tried my best not to break my rules. And I have people come back and say, well, can we do Sunday? No, we can't do Sunday. That's my one day that I get the opportunity to do what I need to do. For not only, I'm still kind of working, but it's still, I'm in my nightgown, It's that kind of working. It's that kind of day that I had to take for myself. Because if I don't get it, then I feel like I'm abused. I feel like the week just went 2 miles longer, It's like, oh, I didn't have an off day, just call me from work and ask me 2 or 3 questions. You just took my whole work day away. That's how I feel.
Yes. Because if we fail to take care of self, because I think you say, how do you stay motivated? And I said, the first thing is taking care of self. I realized caring for my father. I remember a lot of people say, how's your dad? And I said, and not to take anything away from dad, I said, dad is as good as I am. Yeah. True that. Yeah. True that. Because if we aren't whole as whole can be, then there is no way for us to even achieve much stay motivated.
Mhm.
And so the first step, I think, is always being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, where are you mentally? Like, do you need to check out? Where are you emotionally? Where are you physically? Where are you spiritually? And that's some of the key questions that I ask my clients initially. I want to go back to something that you said. How do you know if the client is your ideal client? I
Mhm.
have a meet and greet with all of my clients,
Okay.
all of them, virtually if they're unable to be here, because a lot of my clients are virtual, or in person if they're in South Carolina when I go back.
Mhm.
And sometimes at the end of that,
Yeah.
that's not going to
That
be a good match.
we don't click. Yeah. I got you.
So that's what I initially do, and they may feel the same way. And then I ask them after the 30 minutes. I give everybody a 3 30 minutes. That's an initial meet and greet. And then after that, I said, how you feel? And I said, look, please be honest, because if we're working together and we're not feeling each other now, it's a relationship. Maybe if it's a dating
Right.
kind of thing, a
Right.
man woman, you can maybe feel me for the next 20 minutes or next 2 weeks, but we're going to be working together about your life goals. So that
Mhm.
is how I initially kind of determined. And then even at that, sometimes you get into it and you realize,
Nah, didn't work out.
mhm.
Not what I expected.
Right. And I just wanted, in that point, I had a client that I did a meet and greet, and she gave me a lot about her past. Well, we all have a past. And I failed to take into account how much that would hinder her progress.
Mhm.
She was my first client. I'm like, I'm a coach. I know I got this. I done been through life. I'm a coach to health.
Yes.
Whew. 4 months into it, we hit a brick wall. And I started to wonder, like, am I really supposed to be a coach? And then I realized that what she needed was beyond me.
Right.
And for me to be an effective coach, and it's not always me providing. Sometimes it's me passing along
Mhm.
information or sending
Mhm.
them somewhere else or suggesting that they go somewhere else. And she had sexual trauma in her life. And we were coming a wall because she had never dealt with that. And I said, hey, I'd like you to get sexual trauma therapy.
Mhm. That's good.
Game changer. And
Yeah.
do you know she had been through like 20, maybe 10 other therapists, life coaches. I think I was her first life coach, therapists, counselors, voodoo doctor. I mean, she went through the whole gamut. Not one had ever suggested she go
That's
to sexual trauma care.
yeah. Wow. Game changer.
And it's about listening, being
Yes.
in tune to who you're with, who you're meant to partner with or coach with at that time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thank God for my support system, because if
Yes.
I didn't have it, I would be like probably the lady you just talked about,
Mhm.
because I know I have to bounce and talk to my support system.
Yes.
And they know, it's just I'm an honest person, I'm upfront, and they're same way with me. Stop bringing work home.
Yeah.
They get on me and they tell me, well, I wouldn't do it that way, or think about it this way. And so I have that system, and I know I recognize it.
Mhm.
Sometimes people don't recognize what they have, but I
Mm.
do, and I'm grateful for what I
Mhm.
have. And so I thank God for that every day, because
Yes.
I'm in a whole different state, away from my family. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so to have the extended family around and there for me, it's amazing. You
Yes.
can't buy that kind of love and wealth, right?
No, you
And
can't.
so, no, you can't. And so I'm grateful for that. But, it's a lot of people. And that's why I'm grateful for you doing what you do, because there's a lot of people
Mm.
who are thinking about driving off that bridge,
Mm.
who, work is so bad that,
Mhm.
I just want to die right now, just get me off of this hamster wheel. So people that can come and talk to a lady or a person or a coach like yourself, they need you. They need you.
I
This is,
think so.
yeah.
I do. And I always knew that my life would never be in vain. I say I would be doggone, because I said another word, but I would
Yeah.
be doggone if I would go through all of that and let my life be in vain and fail to share any of that with anybody. It's
Mhm.
like I hold all this and I've been through it. It just seems shame on you. Woe to you, Rana.
Right.
Seriously, that is the way I feel, to hear people suffer and to know that you've been through, if not a similar situation, but you've been through suffering, and you sit there and you say to yourself, I hope they get through it. Well, if that were me, I'd do to you. And you keep your mouth shut.
Mhm.
Like,
That's
woe
worse.
to you.
Yes.
Woe to
Shame on
you.
you. Yeah.
Shame on you. And I had to even pop myself in the mouth, because yes, and that's the things too that drive me. And life stories. I mean, just life, and just knowing what I've come through, knowing that I never deemed myself as a victim. I always knew that I'd come through. I always knew. I never said like, woe was me, because some of it was my choices. You
Mhm.
know, we get into
Mhm.
relationships and they turn sideways. And I'm not trying to point the finger. If when we talk about relationships and coaching, I always say, we have an accountability in it somewhere.
Mhm.
And if we lack to identify our accountability, see, there he is.
There's that. Hi,
He's 93.
Dad. Well, he didn't look like he was 93.
He doesn't act like he's 93 either. Um, and if we fail to say you, and we never find ourselves in it, then I think we lack the ability to really heal through it.
Mhm.
You know, it's always someone else. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
enjoy what I do, and I feel very purpose to do it. I believe that God has given me favor in this
mhm.
space. I know that it will grow, and then sometimes it's like growth is not always identified in numbers and dollars. So that would be nice as well. I just realized that my life is transitioning, and
Mhm.
as I transition, the people that I touch are going to be different, because they're going to be in different spaces as I'm maneuvering in different spaces. Um, Yet the methodology is still the same. If you
Yeah.
want to achieve something, you have to change something first, and you have to identify what mindset, behavior, or habit has to change in order
Mhm.
for you to do. So no matter who I'm with, who I'm coaching, that method is still the same.
The same.
It
Absolutely.
is. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell people how to get in contact with you.
Okay, you can go to my website. It's Rana Perry Life Coaching, and I'm going to spell that. That's RanaPeri lifecoaching.com. And my email address is ranaperrylc@gmail.com. And all of my contact information is on my website. So, yes, I give 30 minutes free. And that's just for a meet and greet. And it's not necessarily just to gauge if we're going to make a good match, it's still just to see where your head is at, so to
Yeah.
speak. And I have everyone to take that positive intelligence assessment before we meet. And that really helps them. That has been probably as much of a game changer as much as the CAD method has been. And
That's
so those are the methods to get into. And my handle on IG, of course, is Rana Perry, life coaching.
okay.
Yes.
Love it. Love it.
Yes.
So at the end, words of wisdom. What type of words of wisdom can you give to someone who is going through these life crises and need help and don't know how to reach out for it?
Sit with yourself. Sit with yourself and journal. Sit with yourself and journal for about the first 24 hours. I always say that. Put everything that you're feeling, everything that you're thinking down on paper. Because as long as you sit with it in your head, it will stay in your head. And then be unafraid to reach out. Now, it would be so easy for me to give someone steps to say,
Mhm.
if you do this, then you do that, and then this will come. The very first thing I always tell people to do is sit 24 hours. Why? Because more than 24 hours, you sit with it too long and you go into dark places. And then take with what you've written and try to, if you have in your circle, somebody in your circle that you can reach out to, there's somebody. If there isn't, if you feel like you're in crisis, call a crisis line. Call a crisis line. Talk to someone. If you're afraid, if you're embarrassed, call, a crisis line. There's non-judgmental. You don't know them. They don't know you.
Right.
and just be honest and just stop being afraid. I mean, just stop being afraid. And I think this is probably the most monumental thing. All of us have gone through situations, some more detrimental than others. All of us.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember that time that you told yourself, I'm never going to get through this. I can't handle this. There's no one here. But yet, here you are, maybe 2 weeks later, 2 years later. So if you can't have anything, then you remember what you did to get through the last thing, and you do the same thing until you can get help.
Nice. Nice. Well, thank you so
Thank
much for being on
you.
the show.
Yes.
We have to have you back for the next season for sure.
Yes, please. I'd
This
love
was a
to.
wealth of information, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing it with our listeners and our viewers. And we're just so excited to have you here. You were so
I'm
sweet.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Oh, this is my sweet day. You know, thank you. I'm who I am, and a lot of it I attribute to the man who just walked past here. To this day, he still encourages me and elevates me and feeds into me. And my upbringing, even though my mom and dad divorced young, when I was young, they still made a concentrated effort to make sure that my sister and I was whole and as healthy and as self-determined as possible. So all of that, and then I just determined I'm not going to let my life be in vain. I choose to be upbeat. I choose happiness. I choose positivity. I choose, because life chooses something else.
Right.
I choose.
Yeah, this is wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is
Okay,
great.
guys, SKST Radio is in full effect. Look here,
Yes.
you got a coach here. You can go
Yes,
back and
please.
see her on YouTube and connect with this lady. This lady is the one and only.
Thank
The
you.
one and only.
Thank
So
you.
make it happen. Okay, guys, until next week, right here, SKST Radio. Tell them bye, coach.
Bye, everybody. And my